Yo, 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 welcome back to the Further Your Lifestyle podcast, conversations on lifestyle, passions, and hustles. My name's Chris Furlong. I am your host, and I'm super excited to be back here having the conversation with you. Now, episode 80 today, which is just another big milestone to tick off. And today we're talking about we're all climbing Milestone Mountains. Now, this one is close to my heart just because of recent, I've hit a new milestone of my own, and it's a way for me to kind of give back to you guys and also to reflect on the journey that has been over the last 1.5 or a little bit more than 1.5 years. So I guess what I've been doing, if you are new here, if you have just stumbled upon this podcast, 1.5 years ago, bit over that, I took a chance on myself. I stepped away from the 9 to 5 to pursue, my dreams, goals, passions, and essentially was to start this podcast. But at the same time, I needed to be able to make some money along the way. And I turned to what I knew would be the quickest way to do that, which was reselling. And that has changed my life. It's given me an opportunity to make money from home, doing my own thing, while being able to do my YouTube and while being able to create this podcast and share my journey with everyone, and also work towards some of my bigger goals and dreams. This podcast is a tip of an iceberg of a bigger plan and some bigger long-term goals that I have, but over the last 1.5 years, I've been learning so much about myself, and I've been leveling up in so many different ways, which I didn't realize that would come from doing these different things. But the big milestone that I've hit just in the last couple of weeks at the time of this podcast was I've actually just hit $100,000 in revenue since starting my business, which that just blows my mind. It's just crazy to think that, it was, just over 1.5 years ago that I started from zero, and I've been able to tick over that huge milestone. Now, just a reminder that is revenue. That is not profit. I operate, below 40% operating margin, but it's just crazy to think about. And what I want to actually share with you today is that we are all tracking towards milestones. We're all climbing milestone mountains, whether you know it or not. And I actually just want to take some lessons from this journey of trying to hit $100,000. And I don't want to focus on reselling or anything like that, but really just the lessons, the learnings, and the takeaways of this journey. And I'm going to share these back to you, and hopefully there's something of a parallel that you can apply in your own path and your own, pursuit for passion, happiness, goals, dreams, and all that jazz. So let's dive in. Lesson number 1. Your talent means nothing without consistent effort and practice. Now, this speaks for itself, but a lot of the time is we can look good on paper, we can have things that make us stand out from the crowd, but unless you're actually putting in action, unless you're putting in effort, and unless you're putting those into practice, those skills or those talents are irrelevant, because you can say you do one thing, but how you act is really going to reflect how you are actually good at those things. And if you're not putting them to work, if you're not testing them, if you're not keeping them in practice, then they will soon disappear. It's like if you step away from doing exercise, you will gain weight, you will lose strength, and you will lose the motivation and willpower to be able to push through when doing exercise or when trying to lose weight. And, you could have a talent of being a bodybuilder or a talent of being a weightlifter, but once again, if you're not consistent with the effort and consistent with the practice, that will disappear. So that's been the big lesson. In order to get to $100,000, I've had to do a lot of consistency. I've got talents, I've got skills, but they're irrelevant if I'm not putting them into practice and putting them into play. Lesson number 2 is do not compare to someone who is not you. You are the only baseline equal to yourself. Now, I've done a whole episode on this. I've shared about this so many times, and I talk about it so many times because it is so relevant. And I've fallen into the trap so many times of looking ahead and seeing other people so much further ahead of myself. And that can be frustrating because you think, what am I doing wrong? Why can't I have what they have? But here I am talking and celebrating hitting $100,000, yet I have people coming to me, oh, you make this look so easy, or how did you do this? Or I wish one day I can be like you. And I think, well, hang on, it was only 1.5 years ago that's where I was. I was at a zero. I was looking at other people wanting to be like them. So you need to compare to yourself where you were a month ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, and use that as a way to remind you of how far you've come. And when you don't hit the expectation of where you thought you would have been, you need to then take some due diligence and understand what's going on. Why aren't you getting to where you want to be? But don't get stuck up on other people because their path, what they can do, Their unfair advantages are completely different to you, and you cannot compare because it is unfair for you. That is lesson number 2. Lesson number 3 is your ambition will mean diddly squat unless you execute. Take action and do the work. Now, this one, once again, speaks for itself. And we can have goals and ambitions. We can have a lot of intent, and we can have some really, bold things that we want to achieve. When I first started reselling, my first year, which was back in 2021, I wanted to hit $100,000 in 365 days. Now, in doing that, I didn't know what I was in for, but I figured, how hard can it be? But, I only hit about $57,000 the first year, which is still good. But, there was a lot of work and action there, which I did not put into play until about halfway into the year, just because I figured it was all going to come into play. But it was a reality check. It made me realize that unless you do things, unless you take action, unless you learn how to grow, unless you execute, you will not get to where you want to be. You can set all the biggest ambition in the world, but it will mean diddly squat unless you do something about it. So that was lesson number 3. Lesson number 4, very similar, is likewise, your actions will always speak louder than your words. Now, there's a common theme here. I'm talking about action. What you do will speak louder. I spoke about how you compare and being consistent and putting things into practice and making sure you're doing work with ambition. They all tie into each other, right? If I'm here telling people this is what I'm going to achieve, that's great. But unless you're doing something about it, nothing's going to happen. But the other thing is, don't let your words be the reason why you, fail or tarnish your brand or bring yourself down. Don't let yourself be the enemy for yourself. Make sure that if you say you're going to do something, get out there and show it, prove it, work towards it. If you don't want to disappoint people, don't tell people you're going to do all these things. Just do the work anyway, and people will see, wow, this guy knows what he's doing. So that is number 4, is your actions will always speak louder than your words. Number 5 is you will never, ever be perfect, so do not hold yourself accountable to unrealistic expectations. Now, this one is tough because a lot of the time we can get so stuck in being ambitious and wanting all these big and amazing things and not understanding what is it going to take. And then we beat ourselves up when we don't actually get those results. I've learned a lot in the last year and a half, and if anything that I want to share with you, it would be that you need to set expectations with yourself that help you understand that things won't always go to plan. This year I had a big hit with COVID. I got a lot of fatigue, and I had to, step away from some of my big goals and dreams and ambitions for this year when it came to running. And it kind of hit me in a confidence way because I'd said I wanted to achieve all these things, half marathons and, total distance of 2,000 kilometers plus, and, wanted to be able to do my next 50K and all those things. And I had to humble myself and think, no, I'm not going to get these done. And that is okay, right? It's out of my control, but I don't want to use it as an excuse to say, oh yeah, maybe I wasn't going to get it done anyway, but now I can, throw it under the bus because I'm not going to be able to do it because of fatigue. But you need to understand that things won't always go as planned, and being comfortable with knowing that may be the case or could be the case will help you just move forward, right? You're going to fail, you're going to stuff up, you're going to have mistakes, but it's not about stopping. It's about, okay, taking the hit on the shoulder, taking the the blow and using that to help you grow and move forward in the right directions. So don't hold yourself accountable to such unrealistic expectations. Make sure you understand and reflect that when things didn't work out, what really happened. Was it because it was too ambitious? Maybe it was out of your control, or maybe it wasn't even something that was appropriate to be setting in the first place. Now, lesson number 6 is short and sharp, and that is success doesn't happen overnight. I've realized that if you want something, it's going to take time. That time could be a week, it could be weeks, it could be a month, it could be months, it could be a year, or it could be years. And I'm getting comfortable with knowing that things are going to take time. To hit $100,000 in a year and a half, some people do that in half that time. I now expect to do that a lot quicker for my second $100,000 as well. And this is the reality of it. As you grow, as you spend time and gain experience, things get a little bit easier. Things speed up. You start to snowball and get momentum because you're learning quicker, so you're growing quicker. But you can't expect to learn 1 year's worth of experience overnight. You can't expect to do that in a week or a month. You literally have to spend a year to go through those experiences. There's still so many things that I haven't experienced when it comes to reselling and in that business world and all that jazz. Just like with this podcast, I'm still at the tip of the iceberg of where I want to be, what I want to achieve, and what I want to do. So I'm going to have to go through a long journey to be able to experience, pivot, adjust, learn, and figure out how do I get to where I want to be. I can take a course, I can educate myself, I can do all these things and enable myself with tools. But once again, I'm still going to have to go through the process of learning and adapting and actually executing and applying any knowledge or understanding that I learn. So if you want success, you're going to have to realize it's going to take time. It's just making sure that you're using that time wisely and resourcefully, because the time's going to pass anyway. So make sure you leverage that. I guess a bonus tip that I want to share with you guys and kind of leave you with is the sooner you can realize that you are more than capable and actually just do, the sooner you'll get to where you want to be. A lot of the time we get so stuck up in, oh, what if I can do this? Or I can't do that. Or, oh, maybe I should give this a go. Or, no one will listen to this. It's so, and I'm going to be real blunt here, it's so pathetic because, a lot of the time we put all these barriers and obstacles in our way when if we had just done something, we would have been done already, right? It's like the metaphor when it comes to like, if you create a fishing net and you think, oh, maybe it's not that good, maybe I shouldn't put it in the water because I'm just going to lose the fish or it won't catch anything. Well, that's right. If you don't put it in the water, you won't catch anything at all. So you need to put it in there, see if you catch anything. If you don't catch anything, then you can go and adapt, adjust, fix it, see if you can make it better. But I think we underestimate what we are capable of doing. And as I said before, the time's going to pass anyway. So make sure you use that time to grow, to learn, to experience, and to level up into the areas where you want to be. Because if you're not, I wouldn't say you're wasting time, but you're spending it time where you could be spending it better for what you want. So that's really what I want to leave you with, that you are more than capable than you realize. Go out, give something a go, do a bit more. And the sooner you do that, I think the sooner you'll realize that, hey, you've actually got what it takes and you can get out there and, whether it's making $100,000 in doing business, starting a podcast, getting on YouTube, or maybe you just want to start a little side hobby farm. I don't know. There's so many things that you can do. You are capable enough to do it. So get out there, further your lifestyle, and make it happen. Really do appreciate you being here. I get really excited sharing these, and I get excited and I smile and I can get kind of hyped and very passionate about it, because the more I do this and the more I learn and grow, the more confident I become in understanding that, the only way to do these things is to do things. And it seems so cliche and so simple, and that's because it is. It really is, right? So when you know what you're doing is going to get to where you want to be, and it just means it's a matter of time and learning and applying, that's how simple it really is, right? And you just want to enjoy the journey. So appreciate being here. I hope this has been of value to you. If you could leave a comment if you're watching this on the YouTube, or reach out on the socials and let me know what you're thinking of these episodes. Otherwise, you have a wonderful day. Cheers. Now, if you didn't know, we do have the podcast merch, and this is with a key focus of enamel pins. Now, if you haven't checked these out, make sure you do, because the intent of these are really just to be a small token and a reminder for you to charge on, to push on, and to further your lifestyle. Whether it is a gift for someone else to encourage them, or maybe to inspire them, or maybe it's a way to motivate yourself, or you can simply just make a purchase to simply support the podcast, which would be greatly appreciated. We do also have some sweaters and some long tees, so make sure you check it out. Link in the description and in the show notes. Really do appreciate it. Cheers.